Thanks for sticking with us, everyone, on Midday Kentucky. Pete Wise, the marketing manager from Alltech Brewing Company and Distilling Company. Fascinating that you've bought these. Is it bourbon in your beer?
So it's a barrel-aged beer. So we take our beer and we age it in freshly dumped bourbon barrels.
Now, you're part of the Bourbon Trail.
Yes, we are.
The experience of the
We're
Bourbon
the only
Trail.
brewery on the Bourbon Trail.
And I believe Kentucky, didn't they just get a big award for the Bourbon Trails?
Yes,
here?
it's been a huge success for the
Huge.
Distillers Association. And it's been great to be a part of it with them.
Yeah.
And all of the distilleries are collaborating together to make it a great experience.
All right. Well, I know nothing about bourbon, anyone. And as I said before the break, all I've had bourbon, what I think is in Manhattan.
Okay.
And I had a mint julep for the first time for the races.
How did you feel about that?
Mint julep was a little sweet. Do you know what I mean? I don't like a bit of a creamy sweet drink, but it was a little too much. But I would have talk to everyone who has no idea about bourbon and how to find the right bourbon to begin with for you.
So bourbon it's all over the board in terms of what bourbons can be made with, but the one major rule is it has to be at least 51% corn in the grain bill. So the grain that you mash up to then ferment and turn into the bourbon has to be at least 51% corn. It adds a little bit of sweetness to the flavor profiles.
Yep.
Of course, the higher the corn content, the more sweet it's going to be. So our bourbon is actually 72% corn. So it's got a real high sweetness to it. We have a little bit of rye in the mash bill, so it's got a little bit of spiciness on the finish. But it's a great just sitting down sipping whiskey.
So before dinner, or would you call it an after dinner bourbon?
That's a personal preference.
Ah.
I drink it after dinner. I
prefer
it over about 3 cubes of ice.
Yeah.
Pour about 2 fingers over 3 cubes of ice and just sip on that after dinner.
Okay.
It's the perfect dessert.
All right. Well, let's get into. I've never heard of bourbon beer. Is that the right word, or beer bourbon?
Barrel-aged beer.
Barrel-aged beer. So let's talk about how you make this.
So we are the beer of bourbon country, and we started out with our Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale here back in about 2006, and the product has just taken off for us. So just smell this. I won't make you drink it this early in the day, but just put your nose in that, and you can smell the...
Smells like a beer.
Yeah, smells like a beer, but there's a lot of bourbon characteristics in there too. So a little bit of the vanilla, a little bit of the caramel flavors in there.
That's it, caramel, people.
Yes. And actually, what we've done to follow up with this is we developed
That does smell refreshing, I have to say.
Yeah.
Now I want to drink it.
Oh, yeah.
It.
We'll get it to you later on. I'll leave some of these here for you. We followed up with a barrel-aged seasonal series. So if you smell this one, this is actually the next one to come out. It's not on store shelves yet, but it will be next week.
It says pumpkin barrel.
So it's a beer made with Kentucky pumpkin butter. That's made on a farm here in Bardstown, Kentucky.
It does smell, and why it's quite a bit darker.
Yes, it is a little bit darker, and that's because we actually brew it with the spices that you would find in a pumpkin pie. So the cinnamon, the nutmeg, the allspice, and then we actually have the Kentucky pumpkin butter, which gives it that pumpkin flavor to it. Okay. If your mother ever made a pumpkin bread, that's what it tastes like. It's delicious.
It's from
delicious.
Australia.
Oh, no, that doesn't
never heard pumpkin pie until I moved here. What makes your bourbon barrel ales unique?
Well, when you dump a bourbon barrel, so you take the bourbon, you age it in bourbon or in barrels, 4, 6, however many years, you dump it out. There is still bourbon in the wood. That's what gives bourbon its color. Is it soaks into the wood, picks up those tones, and so when you dump it, there's still plenty left in the wood. We put our beer in there and put it in a cold storage facility here in Lexington, and actually condenses the wood, forces whatever bourbon is left over back into the beer. Okay. Gives it those great sweetness notes, the caramel notes, all of that greatness about bourbon that you love.
Very quickly, what other whiskeys do you produce?
We have a rye whiskey that if you like Manhattans, that's the one you need to try.
Got you.
Town Branch Rye. And then we also have a single malt whiskey. Kind of like an Irish whiskey, Pierce Lyons Reserve, which is named after our founder, Pierce Lyons.
Got you. Hey, tell me, Pete, you're part of the Bourbon Trail, right?
Yes.
Can people just come to your, what do you call it?
Our distillery.
A distillery, thank you. For someone who knows nothing about this stuff, people, they can come and just tour yours.
They can come any day of the week. We're open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh, it looks nice and clean in there too.
Yeah,
looks
absolutely.
Super.
It's gorgeous.
Hey, if you want to find out more information, there it all is up on the screen now. Give them a buzz. Go over and see our mate Pete, and get him to give you a bit of a sample of his. Who knows? You might have pumpkin barrel ale, everyone. Stay tuned for more entertainment news and your weekly forecast. Back after this short break, we're going to have a beer.